Good evening, and Assalamu alaikum. This is Professor Aminah Al-Deen, and before I get into my show tonight, let me tell you a few things. First, Critical Talk is hosted by Muslim Network TV, and we're on a slew of channels, so you don't get an opportunity to say I couldn't find it. We're on Apple TV. We're on what is that thing? Fire Stick. We're on Galaxy 19 and we're on YouTube. Now, having said that, I will move to another subject of serious concern of mine, and that is that folk very rarely hear from the African American Muslim community on study. And one of our great imams who died, for me, it's not too long ago, uh, is Imam Warfdi Muhammad. Our guest tonight, and if she isn't a doctor, she should be, is Fitrah Muhammad. And Sister Fitrah has done so much in the Muslim community, and I won't say much of it at Masjid Muhammad in Washington, D.C., because she's been all over the world. And for all of you listening, not to know her is a travesty. And I kid you not. She is the executive producer of Study Al Islam, and I have begun to listen to Study Al Islam, where she has guests. I learned so much every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. and how this woman gets out themes for the month and a calendar I'll never know, but I'm going to shut up now and welcome Sister Fitra Muhammad to Critical Talk.
Well, thank you, Dr. Amina, for inviting me. It is a great honor. Um, with Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer, assalamu alaikum to your audience.
Get going, girl. It's got you got so much. Well, Critical Talk began in 2014.
Mhm.
But there was a lot of stuff that came before. I'm sorry, not Critical Talk. 20 Critical Talk didn't begin that long ago. Study Al Islam began in 2014. But there were a lot of things that led to it. Could you give us the Reader's Digest version of all the things that had to coalesce for you to come up with Study Al Islam?
Well, actually, I was inspired to establish Study Al Islam right before the holy month of Ramadan. As many of you may know or not know, Imam Wadathuddin Muhammad, may he be forgiven his sins and be in the highest place in paradise, left us with a great legacy to follow. One model in particular was his yearly talk over a 3-day weekend called the Ramadan Sessions. And these talks were extensive and intensive commentary on the Quran. So I was missing Imam. I was missing these Ramadan sessions. Imam had transitioned, and though there were other Ramadan sessions going on, they were scarce, I believe. I'm not sure, how where they were in many of the cities across the nation, but I called my dear friend Imam Qasim Ahmed, who has transitioned as well. May he be forgiven his sins. And he is well known. He remains well known and highly respected in the general Muslim community as a scholarly student of Imam Wadathuddin Muhammad, and he is fluent in the Arabic language. So I shared my idea with him. I said, Qasim, I want to um, invite other well-known, well-versed, and respected students of Imam Wadathuddin Muhammad on a national conference call for 30 minutes, for 30 days to replicate the Ramadan sessions. Well, this was unheard of in terms of asking an imam to speak for 30 minutes. I mean, anybody knows 30 minutes is just, that's a miracle. But once I was able to get Imam Qasim to support the idea, everything else flowed very easily. I immediately began to call several of the imams' students within the community who, as I said, were scholarly leaders in our community on the Quran and the life of Prophet Muhammad. And they all just agreed. And then once I was able to achieve and establish the credibility and integrity of Study al-Islam by Allah's permission, being a woman with a motherly spirit, I wanted to provide a platform for the next generation of young scholars, inclusive of women. And at that time, it was, I don't know if women were speaking on the same platform with imams, but they were all studying Imam Muhammad's commentary on the Quran, and they were fluent in the Arabic language. And this was a big step, but I trusted my heart. And the bonus for me that many of the next generation were studying under the watchful eye of Imam Qasim. So, as it stands right now, Study al-Islam is an intergenerational program which provided the opportunity for Ramadan, and now it is a it has grown into a series called Life Topics, and it has now become a yearly program. So that's kind of the history on Study al-Islam and how it was created.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
I want to go back and ask her to put up the website one more time. Can you make that larger? I don't know if that can happen. Okay. Can we go to our history?
Mm.
And what does it say? Yeah. I don't know if we can make that even just a little bit larger. You see, I'm technology disabled. Okay, see if we can make that larger because this is so important for all of the communities to know about. We have an opening quote from Surah 3, excuse me, Ayah 104, um, that asked us to do what?
It says, let there rise out of you a band of people inviting to all that is good, enjoining what is right, and forbidding what is wrong. They are the ones to attain felicity.
And this is, from my listening, what the journey of Study al-Islam is about. Can we go down a little bit below that, please? Um, One of the things that I think is very important for African American, Latino Americans, perhaps Muslims, is the fact that this is not an Arabic speaking nor an Urdu speaking country. And for things to be clear and transmitted to us in language that we can understand, it has to get done in English. So when I'm hearing things over Study Islam, I'm hearing people who are fluent in Arabic, but they're also fluent in English. So they're giving me the English. I don't at that moment, because I want to grasp it, I want to hold it tight, need the Arabic. And as we reclaim Al Islam for Muslims, which is a project that has been going on for over 100 years um, in many places, history is just so inaccurate. Um, we want to give people something that will nourish them. And nourishment comes from understanding what you're reading, understanding how to pull out the issues. And that's what Study Islam has done. Can you go back up to the tabs? I want you, Sister Fitra, to tell us about. Oh, wait. There's a tab that says our series. I mean, the fact that, I mean, this has to be thought out so much well in advance. I am envious and a little ticked off, but there you go. So there are programs and series. You can subscribe so you can get access to the archives. Tell us about this. Tell us about these programs and the scheduling and all that good stuff.
So the program, first of all, Study al-Islam is in a four-part series right now. And it's planned and developed upon the foundation that the Quran was revealed to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, to show function and purpose in relationship to our life. So we on Study al-Islam, it is dedicated to um, teaching from the Quran. Our scholars teach from the Quran in every aspect, whether it's on health, whether it's on education, whether it's on culture, it's connected to the Quran in order to show, in order to provide the tools for those who call themselves Muslims to be able to manage their lives in order to please their Lord. I mean, and that is simply Study al-Islam is dedicated to teaching a clear understanding of the Quran revealed to Prophet Muhammad and explained in the tafsir of Imam W.D. Muhammad. And our lectures consist of two programs, the Ramadan series, which is offered exclusively during the holy month of Ramadan, and then the Sunday Life Topic series, which each year focuses on a new relevant topic and dives deep into a clear and applicable understanding of the Quran.
So, how
And
do you choose these themes?
excuse me?
How do you choose which themes?
Well, believe it or not, I they come to me in my sleep. They come to me in conversations that I have with other people. They come to me in discussions. They come to me in concerns that people express. They come to me in the joy that people are experiencing together and, when we have community events. And so that's how the topics are. They're inspired. And um, the wonderful aspect of it is that the the presenters, the speakers are gracious enough to just they accept whatever topic I give them. But I do follow the application of our prophet, peace be upon him, and that any topic that's on Study al-Islam is presented by someone who is experienced, who has knowledge of the topic, who are experts on the topic. They are not just the next door neighbor, the community member that wants to speak. They're not just from someone who has an opinion. It's really factually based, trusted information that is explained and shared by the professional in that particular field of study.
Well, you know what I like also about that wonderful hour that goes too quickly is I can ask the question. Oh my God. I can actually ask the question and actually get an answer. It's not just lecture me, whip me to death. You know, I can actually get an answer to a question. Usually there's so many questions because there are hundreds of people listening with me, and I want them all to be quiet so I can ask my question. But the fact that this is widely followed, the fact that you have so many wonderful guests, and I was just thinking about last week when you were doing education, and I had both sides of a coin. I had an historical view till now of what's happening with Muslim education in schools here in the United States. And then I had a student of those schools who has since gone on, gotten her PhD, and become a consultant for an American school in Dubai who is trying to recruit both students and teachers and talking about all of the wonderful benefits. I mean, you get up, you hear the Quran in the morning.
Exactly.
Um, so in this particular show, I got both sides of the coin. I got how we cannot worry about building Martin Luther King Junior High School and think about freedom schools. Think about weekend schools. You know, put ourselves to work and instead of relying on an alibi. Oh, we don't have the money. And then on the other side, well, here's a way to get some of that money that you can funnel back in here to support some of the enterprises. If you want to talk a little bit about education, which I know is close to your heart, I'd appreciate it.
It is. Yes. So our Sunday, our again, Study al-Islam is in a four-part series. The first Sunday is which I'm extremely excited about, is on early Muslim Black Africans who were companions of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and the spread of al-Islam from Africa to the US and the influence that Muslim African Americans have across America and the world. One of the reasons I'm so excited about that is because when I lived and worked in Jeddah, I worked with about 14 um, uh, uh, different women, 14 different cultures of women represented by 14 different cultures of women. And they all talked about their contribution to Islam. And I realized I didn't know a lot about that. And I was very embarrassed by that. Of course, I
Mm,
could talk about the contribution of Muslim African Americans, but I couldn't talk about anyone other than Bilal being the first muezzin, and of course, that's a very, very prestigious position that the Prophet, peace be upon him, gave Bilal. But we know that there are so many other companions of the Prophet that look like you and I, and so the first Sunday. We have Imam Mendes from Gambia. We have Professor Rudolph Ware, who is well known. We have Imam Zaid Shakar, they're going to all talk about the early converts to Islam. And those born, who were companions to Prophet Muhammad and to help spread Islam across the continent. So the second Sunday of the month is dedicated to education. Again, you asked me how are programs developed. Well, I was in so many discussions where, the only talk was we need a full-time school. Well, Professor Aminah, opening a full-time school is, I mean, it's more than a
notion.
notion.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the practicality of opening weekend schools is at our fingertips. So why are we sacrificing our children who don't have weekend schools, Islamic weekend schools, to teach them the virtues of Islam and our cultural virtues? So I knew that I needed to promote and support the idea of weekend schools. So on the second Sunday, we are having directors of weekend schools that have successful weekend schools, and they will be speaking to us about their curriculum. The third Sunday is about health and wellness. And you can rest assured that one of the issues will be about shingles because I got shingles. But again, the health professionals, the practitioners, the doctors. Last week we had a lower respiratory a sister who is in lower respiratory. She talked about the lower respiratory problems that we have. We have someone coming on talking about acupuncture over steroids, is which is better in terms of pain maintenance. We have someone that's going to be talking about herbals and what kind of vitamins should we have. As African Americans, we're very suspicious of of science. We don't really trust doctors, and we got to get over that
For
because
good reason, though. For good reason.
for very good reasons. But now, and that is the purpose of bringing on trusted voices, so that we can stop being afraid and stop being at the top of every peck and call of every at the top of being the ones who die first. We're at the top of cancer. We're at the top of every disease, um, uh, 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 um, of every culture. We're the ones to die first. So we're going to end that. And then, of course, on the fourth Sunday, we have our spiritual teachers. And that is going to be on choose faith over fear. And those will be stories from the lives of the prophets and ayats from the Quran that give us strength, that give us faith, that give us hope during a time when so much loneliness and sadness and despair and people are committing suicide. So those right now are the four series that you can listen to every Sunday at 10 o'clock on Study Al-Islam.
Wow. Can I take a moment and swallow? My mouth was open because I was sucking it all in.
And so I can say this also, that in each series we have about 12 speakers. There's one speaker every Sunday because we want to make sure we cover the topic thoroughly. But each series has about 12 speakers. So we go from now until January, which is when Study Al-Islam holds its annual New Year's Eve prayer. And we have about 800 people on the line, and we all come together and pray as a community.
Well, I think, and this is why I was so anxious to do this show. I don't know that all of the viewers to Muslim Network TV realize what's happening in the African American community. Muslim Network News publicizes the violence in the African American community in general, and goes on to spend a great deal of time talking about Islam in other places. And Critical Talk has kind of grounded itself in the US, but we look periodically outside. And I know that there are lots of comments on what is happening outside, but I think we want to get to know this program, which is one of I don't know I don't want to say the only, but I'm close to it, program that is persistent. It's there on Sunday. It's not there and then absent for 4 months and then back, and maybe you have to go somewhere else to find it. It's where it is. I'm going to take a 2 minute break, and I'm going to offline ask you about maybe two programs that you're most fond of. This is Professor Aminah Al-Deen, Critical Talk, Muslim Network TV, Sister Fitrah Muhammad, who is giving us all of this information that we can't let go of. Assalamu alaikum. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. Assalamu alaikum. This is Professor Amina Al-Deen, still messing with her laptop, back on Critical Talk, which is a production of Muslim Network TV and Sound Vision. We're talking today about the series, year long, as a matter of fact, of programs and also study series called Study Al-Islam, that whose executive producer is Fitrah Muhammad. And I had asked Fitrah, actually, I asked a few days ago, but I don't think the word got to you, so I'm going to have to put you on the spot. Can you think of a show or two that the people were just hot in their seats, sending you all kinds of text messages that went over so well that you, oh my gosh, did I do that?
Um, Dr. Amina, the show Study al-Islam is well received.
Yes, it is.
It has a devoted audience that comes every Sunday, and um, and I know that it's only by the permission of Allah.
Correct.
I know that. Um, there's so many shows that I get, messages after. Almost all of them are, um, you know, the believers write me and thank me for uh, the information that they've received in the program, and the how well organized the presenter is with in their PowerPoints. And so but I do have two programs that really um surprised me the most in terms of the success of that. And
Mm.
those are the two conferences that was done. Um, the first conference that was done was an academic examination. I don't know if you can see this. It's the academic examination of Elijah Muhammad's contribution to the ministry of Imam Waduddin Muhammad. This was done at Zaytuna College. And
Give
uh,
us the year.
the year is 2018.
Okay.
And this went over so well because um, because there was a lot of controversy about it. Um, the Much of the community that was not African American, the Muslim African American community, I should say the non-Muslim African American community, many of them opposed Zaytuna offering this conference. By the mercy of
Believe it or not, that's almost normal. But go ahead.
Allah, um, uh, and to his credit, um, Imam Zaid Chakr and Sheikh Hamza supported the conference 100%, and as a result, the conference was well attended.
Hmm.
And it was the speakers were well informed. Most of them, if not all of them, had firsthand information, knowledge, because they were pioneers of the Nation of Islam. And so we put to bed the myth, the idea that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was seen as a prophet. We understood that his role was to socially reform us. And we discussed that at the conference. It was clear the conversations were about the condition that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that he grew up in the South, and
Wow.
the quote that he had seen enough lynchings for his lifetime.
Mhm.
And the fact that, and so, we understood, those who grew up in the Nation of Islam understood the rejection of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But the reality is that you cannot deny that no man can achieve what he achieved without the guidance of Allah. There's just, you can't deny it. I mean, it's impossible to deny, no matter what you think of him. It was obvious that Allah permitted him to be to to be important to the history of Muslim African Americans here in the United States of America. He is, it is, it that, and that was clearly defined at Zaytuna College, and it was just a success. And then the second conference was A Way Forward, A New Mind for a New People, which was done in 2022. And it was done at the American Islamic College in Chicago, and that was on the leadership of Imam Wadathuddin Muhammad. May they both be forgiven their sins and be in the highest place in paradise. Both of them was well attended, and we walked away with a clear message of what their leadership was, what they achieved, and their value and importance to every Muslim in America being able to stand up and be proud that they are Americans, that they are Muslim in America.
Can listeners buy the CDs for both of these conferences
They
on the
can.
website?
They can. They can go to the website and they can purchase it. And the nice thing about A Way Forward, A New Mind for a New People, they don't have to purchase the DVDs. Both of these are DVDs. They don't have to purchase the DVDs. They can actually purchase the download on their phone, so they could see the whole conference as a download on their phone and not
Oh,
purchase.
that's great.
It really is. It's a,
Mhm.
technology, it has really advanced.
Okay, and you mentioned it before I got to it that I know Study Al Islam has hundreds of listeners every week. And if they would get out of the way, I could get all my questions answered personally to the guests. But, I'll live with it. Um, I heard you mention that you hear from them.
I do.
How have you given permission to that wonderful listening audience to hear from them? Because a lot of people lecture. They don't want to hear what you got to say. They don't want to hear what your question is.
Um, so they reach me by email, they call me on the phone, they text me. Um, and the and every speaker is required to put up a contact information.
Wow.
If they're not accessible, then they're not on Study Al Islam. Um,
Absolutely.
this is not, an elitist group. This is not an elitist program. This is scholars in their field of study. And you have to be available to the people so that they can ask their questions. Some who may be uncomfortable about putting their question in the chat or, raising their hand on Zoom. And so, and again, I want to give the credit to the speakers. They are very gracious and they don't mind. They really don't. They don't mind being available once they're not on Study Al Islam. And most of them have their own programs. So, if you want to hear from them more often, you can, they're available on YouTube. And they have wonderful programs that on subject matters of their choice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I found that out too because you said that on the program. And that's the other thing that most don't do. They
Yeah,
don't say, "Oh, well, they also have this, that, and the other," and you can go on their website. I mean, it's all about educating
it is.
the listeners.
It is.
So now, in our last little bit of time,
Sure.
what's on this Sunday?
This Sunday is Imam Fahim Shuaib, who is just, I can't tell you, he is going to be speaking on choosing faith over fear. And, you know, this it's going to be verses from the Quran and stories in the life of the prophets to ward off feelings, like I said before, of loss, sadness, and despair. And um, we need that.
Oh,
And,
tell
and,
me,
and,
how do we need it?
yeah, I mean, the world is in a moral decay, and people are feeling lost. And there's none better than Imam Fahim Shuaib to open the program. This will be the first fourth Sunday since Study Al Islam started after Ramadan. We've already gone through 3 weeks, and this will be the fourth.
Okay, now I'm gonna bug you.
Sure.
Can you repeat what's coming up Sunday?
Yes, of course. This Sunday on studyalislam.com. And for those listening, if you want to receive the newsletter that comes out every Saturday with the schedule, you can um, uh, go to studyalislam.com website and subscribe to the newsletter. It is studyalislam.com website. And every Saturday, you will receive the Study Al Islam newsletter that has the schedule in it. It also has a extensive bio on every speaker, so you can read the background of those speakers, and it has other information. Uh, Study Al Islam newsletter is a community a community newsletter. So if you're having an event and you want to promote it, you should feel free to send us your flyer, and we will put it in the Study Al Islam newsletter. And it's for all communities. It's not just, the community of Imam Al-Deen Muhammad. It is for any Muslim event that is happening across the United States and internationally. And so this Sunday, yes, it is Choose Faith Over Fear. And I cannot wait to hear from Imam Fahim Shuaib.
Me either.
You know, I just want to tell you a very quick story about Imam Fahim. Study Al Islam, the program is, the speakers are confirmed about 4 months before they speak. The whole year is confirmed. All the speakers are confirmed. And certainly Allah knows best who's going to be here and who isn't.
Yeah.
But Imam Fahim, this Ramadan, we did all of the attributes. We did 3 attributes every day for 30 days. And we got all 99 attributes in. It was just beautiful. But Imam Fahim, he's such a spiritual person. He had the attributes on life and death. And as I said to you, he was confirmed for that about 3 months before Ramadan started. And he called me up the day before and he said, Sister Fitrah, surely Allah is guiding the program, because it was on the anniversary of the day that his daughter had transitioned.
Oh.
And he spoke in such a manner about life
And
and death
mhm.
that was so the word that I want to,
Moving.
moving, so just so
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, I know what you mean.
you really understood what he was saying. It spoke to your soul.
Well,
And
see, that you hit the nail dead on the head, because uh, the pandemic, um, a lot of people died.
yes,
People are still dying and catching, perhaps Allah knows best, conditions and illnesses that if the pandemic wasn't there and we were all inside sterilizing the air out there, they may would not have gotten.
yeah,
And also, uh, COVID is still moving around. People have long COVID. People still haven't gotten over that period of isolation. And as you mentioned before, Muslims are committing suicides. We take tallies of that. Young people, middle aged and old, are depressed because they can't seem to get back in the swing of things. The pandemic, everybody thought, oh my goodness, I'm going to be at home. I can work from home.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have all this time. Well, they turned that time into more leisure than work and then wound up working all night.
Yeah.
So, so time it's like, oh, I don't have any time. Oh my God, where did time go to? Oh, I lost the day. So I think that it is really on time that we're going to listen to the Imam on Sunday.
Yes.
I can't thank you enough for spending ah, what is early evening for us here in the Maryland, D.C., Virginia area with us, giving us so much information. I got to go listen to this again. Um, for those of you who missed the beginning, this is Sister Fitrah Muhammad, who is the executive person at Study Al Islam. StudyAlislam.com is the website. It also has a newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
And if you didn't get a chance to hear all of the program, please go back and listen to it again. She's already given you permission to write her. Write her. Ask her stuff. This is Professor Aminah Al-Deen for Critical Talk, which is a production of Muslim Network TV, which is a production of Sound Vision. Thank you again. Salam alaikum. Stay on, Fitra.